Good morning, everyone. This is Chris on a sunny Wednesday morning on Around the ATL. This is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio, and we're very excited for a great show planned for you this morning. But before we do that, I want to do some house cleaning a little bit as I try to maneuver from the sunlight that keeps moving on me. One shout out to the following Facebook pages and groups: Atlanta Hawks Nation, We Talk Hawks, the basketball Facebook group, True to Atlanta Hawk Talk, Atlanta Hawks diehard fanatics, diehard Atlanta Hawks fan pages, along with everybody on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you do follow along on Facebook and Instagram, IMTM Worldwide Radio, if you want to watch. And also, don't forget, right here on the bottom, you can follow myself and my co-host Jordan Jackson, Intellect ATL, and Jordan23 ATL on Twitter. That being said, let's get back there. Almost forgot. Today's show is brought to you by Southern Classic Transportation. Owner is Dennis Brazil. Make sure you hit him up, 404-291-0150. So if you need to get to here to there in the state of Georgia or even outside the state of Georgia, that's your guy. You gotta hit him up. And also remember that I'm gonna put this on the bottom of the screen. It is a new month. It is the month of October. So if you do need some photos, make sure you go to imtmworldwideimages.com, which is right here at the bottom there for that website. And or you can go to Instagram. I actually have a photo shoot today right after this. This is the craziest day ever. I'm gonna pull it off though. But make sure you go to that site. If you need some images, hit me up. It's a new month. My co-host, Jordan Jackson. He's a longtime Atlanta sports fan. He's been the co-host of Around the ATL for 5 years now, believe it or not. Let's bring in Jordan. Jordan, what's going on, sir?
What's going on, sir? Glad to be back on the show. It's been a little while for me here. Been a lot going on.
And actually,
happy to be back on.
If you've been watching the show over the last few months, you've noticed that Jordan has not been on. So, Jordan, could you give us a brief update?
Well, I won't go too much into detail because I'm sure she's listening to the show or will be. But, you know, to be honest with you guys, my mom has been diagnosed with cancer. And so we've been going through a lot of doctor visits, a lot of tests being run and whatnot. And, you know, just trying to get an idea of what the prognosis is and what the treatment plan will be going forward. So if there's anybody out there that are praying people, please keep my mom, Miss Diane, in your thoughts and your prayers. You know, going through something like this with a loved one is very difficult. It's quite challenging, quite concerning. And to be honest with you, it's downright heartbreaking. But, you know, I try my best to keep an even keel, to stay positive, to be there, be supportive, you know, go to the visits with her and be her eyes and ears, you know, and her basically notepad. To help her keep track of things that's going on. So if you listen to this now, or whether you'll listen to this later, Mom, I love you. I'm there with you, and, you know, keep the faith, keep your head up, and, you know, hopefully things are going to be all right.
Well, definitely just want to ditto that. You know, I've known you for a long time. I actually haven't had the privilege of meeting your mother just yet, but I know she's gonna get better. And for those who just heard what he said, make sure you keep your thoughts and prayers for Jordan and his mom.
A couple quick shout outs outside of that. Just want to give a shout out to Hawks Twitter and all the people who listen to us over there. And also want to shout out We Talk Hawks TV and Damon Thomas. I go on those guys' shows and on their spaces on X quite a bit, and quite good banter going on. So just want to give a couple shout outs to those guys. And sir, we are not far away from Hawks basketball. As a matter of fact, I think we got a preseason game coming up on Monday of next week, I believe.
Crazy. And that being said, just segue into it. Yesterday was media day for the Atlanta Hawks, obviously. Everybody got to see the players interact with each other for the first time, really. You got to hear some of them speak on the impending season and hopes for what's going to happen. Today, we have someone very special, as I mentioned before, who has the pulse of the Hawks in his fingertips, so to speak. He is the newest member of the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame, play-by-play announcer for the Atlanta Hawks for the last 28 years and counting, Mr. Bob Rathbun. Bob, how you doing, sir?
Gentlemen, always a pleasure to be with you, and the best to your mom for a very speedy recovery.
Thank you very much, Bob. It means a lot.
You bet.
So, Bob, it's been forever. And, of course, year after year, we always appreciate you being on. I know last year we weren't able to do it. But, again, I just want to always say thank you, sir, for taking the time to, join up with me and Jordan on a kind of regular yearly thing since 2018. So we definitely appreciate you.
My pleasure. Let's get this thing going.
All right.
We got Hoop next week. I'm excited.
Exactly.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
sir.
By the way, Blake Newsom from Twitter said hello. Just had to tell you that, Bob. I promise him you would. Dikembe Mutombo, Bob, I want to start off with that. It's a sad week for us. Could you speak on Dikembe and how he affected Atlanta Hawks fans from all over the world?
Oh, gosh, where to begin? When you lose a friend, it's tough, especially, Deke was just 58 years old. But I think once the tears dry, you remember the personality, which was bigger than life. He never had a bad day. He was the life of the party. He always smiling, always, laughing, a great jokester. Teammates loved him. And then, of course, you get to what he did on the court. I mean, he transformed our club defensively when he came here as a free agent from Denver. He won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times, and 3 of them wearing a Hawks uniform. And his humanitarian efforts were quite extraordinary. I was telling the story yesterday about his mom. We were talking about our moms, and she was in great need of medical attention back home in the Congo. And when she tried to navigate through the civil war that was going on in and around Kinshasa at the time, she could not get to the hospital. And, it cost her life. And Dikembe, the type of person that he is, it wasn't enough just to lend his name to a cause. He just rolled up his sleeves and took it on as a personal project. He raised the money to build a hospital. He raised the money to buy the equipment, get it staffed. There's no telling how much money he spent out of his own pocket to make that happen. And it is a functioning hospital to this day. So that really just sort of speaks to the kind of guy he was. Adam named him a global ambassador for the NBA. And that was the first time anyone had ever filled that role. They created that position really for Dikembe. He was always on an airplane going somewhere. And they could not have picked a better man to be that ambassador for the NBA and for the world. So this is a loss that is going to have vibrations in every corner of the globe. I will miss him because he was just such a good friend. Yeah. We spent so much time together, but it's mixed emotions because on the one hand, you're so sad for Rose and the kids. And I mean, we watched those kids grow up. Ryan's going to be playing at Georgia Tech this year. But on the other hand, you cannot help but smile when you think about Dikembe Mutombo. He was hysterical to be around, on the bus, on the plane, in practice, at the games, in the locker room. He was one of one, no doubt about it.
Yeah. They've been playing his commercial a lot,
Yeah.
obviously. And that finger wag, again, of course, in Hawks lore over the years, everybody has used it, but everybody in the NBA, anybody in basketball knows what that means, and that's something that we'll always remember. But like you said, the man that he was, the humanitarian that he was, is definitely going to be long remembered, and everything he's done is never going to go away. So I appreciate those words, Bob.
Sure. He was an absolute giant of a man, a true legend on and off the court. I was looking at some video yesterday of some of the interactions between him and Michael Jordan at All-Star games and in games, and how Dikembe would say, you never dunked on me, and eventually he got him. It's just classic banter, and it does just make you smile. So absolutely, Dikembe will be missed, and I just want to offer my condolences to his family and to the entire Atlanta Hawks family, who his passing affected. And if I could just say one more thing, I want to give a shout out to the family of Mr. Walt Amer as well, the CEO of Waffle House, who passed with the same ailment Mr. Mutombo did, and he was also 58 years old. He was a friend of mine and a client of mine, so I do want to give that shout out as well.
Appreciate that, Jordan. So, Bob, the 2023 season did not go as planned. What would your synopsis be of the 2023 season?
Well, guys, I thought the thing that hurt us the most were the injuries. When you look back at the season as a whole, we only had our top 8 guys together to play 18 games out of 82. It was just one after the other after the other. It started with Jalen right around Thanksgiving when he got taken out of the air in Washington by Kyle Kuzma and broke his wrist. You go to the end of the year, Sadiq Bey blows out his knee. Trey suffers the first major injury of his life, really, much less basketball career. Hunter, Onyeka, you just go right on down the line. And we never had our guys together. So to me, that was the biggest factor. And by the end, it just caught up with us. We just collapsed down the stretch. We lost our last 7, counting the play-in, and the last 2 we just weren't even competitive.
Yeah.
So that to me was the biggest takeaway from last season.
Do you think there could have been a move? Because there was still a point where on the technical side of things, we were still kind of in it or whatnot. Do you think there could have been a move that could have helped the team finish a little bit higher in the standings?
Maybe, Chris. But, most of our big injuries came after the trade deadline. Trey missed. He got back for the last 3, but he missed, 28 games? There was just not a whole lot, I don't think, that we could have done any differently. I mean, you could always make a trade, I guess, but they had talked to New Orleans. I think that was the start of the DeJounte trade, but neither side wanted to pull the trigger at the trade deadline. So, hindsight being 2020, maybe they could have made a move, but I don't think it really would have altered anything.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned it. I was actually going to mention it, how the Hawks ended up losing those last 7 games, including the play-in. You had some games where you were giving up a lot of threes. I think we had 3 games in a row. We gave up 18, 23, and 18 threes in 3 straight games. There was a game we had given up 80 points in the paint, 72 points in the paint. So just on the defensive side, do you think that going into this season, do you think the team will have adjustments to be better on the defensive side this coming year?
I do. I think one of the biggest needs for the Hawks was positional size. We obviously Trey is Trey, but when you go around to the other spots on the floor, we weren't really big, and it wasn't so much size as it was girth. I mean, we were just getting manhandled in the paint. We didn't have much length, but I think they've addressed that. You guys are going to fall in love with Dyson Daniels and his defense. Kobe Buffkin, who's probably going to get the backup point guard minutes. Here's a guy 6'4" with a 6'8" wingspan. We haven't really seen Kobe play yet. Another guy who spent a lot of time injured last year. When you think about what they've done, Larry Nance Jr. coming onto the scene is going to help defensively. Ricochet is a big kid. As he gets his feet wet, you'll see him play well defensively. So I think they've made enough alterations. We should be a much better defensive team this year.
So, and the reason I mentioned that is that I think this is the first year since the 2020 season to where we did make some player moves to make adjustments from the previous year. Because 2019 to 2020, you remember what we did, and we ended up in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just throwing it out there. Right. So I think this is a year where, like you mentioned, Dyson, he was a leader last year in defensive playmaking. He averaged 1.5 steals a game. He already on the podium says, I want to be first team all defense. I'm excited about that.
When's the last time a Hawk said that?
I'm just trying to tell you. So, Jordan, I know you have a question for Bob.
Well, along those same lines, the Hawks do seem to be emphasizing longer, more athletic, defensive-minded perimeter players led by the aforementioned Dyson Daniels and the #1 overall pick, Zachary Ricochet. Could you speak a little bit of what you've seen of Ricochet's game in summer league and maybe in any practices you've attended? Yeah. And what do you think his role could be? Do you think he could possibly start day one?
I don't think he'll start out of the chute. I'd be very surprised. This is good. He's 19 years old, and getting his feet wet at the speed and the size of the NBA game is a lot for anybody. But this kid's got a lot of talent. When he was 18 years old, guys, he was not on anybody's draft board.
I think. Jordan, you still there?
I am.
You lost Bob for a second. Let's wait for him.
Are we good now?
We can hear. There you are. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're here.
Ricochet, when he was 18, was not on anybody's draft board at all. And then by the time he was 19 and drafted last summer, he had risen all the way to being the #1 pick. So this guy's on the elevator. I mean, he is going up, and he's going up pretty quick. That said, it's going to take him time to get adjusted, as it is for any rookie, particularly one who just didn't get a chance to play much this summer. He only played 2 games. Remember, guys, he played 72 games last year in France professionally. That's a lot of basketball for a teenager. And I thought, once he got a little dinged up in Vegas, they just shut him down. He only played a couple of games. But when I saw his workout, what excited me was that even at age 19, from the waist down, he's got it. He's got the trunk. He's got the legs. He's got the footwork. He can get over screens. He can run. He can move. The shot will come. He's not at the point yet where he can create his own shot, but that will come. He's never had a guy like Trey teeing him up either. So, his progress, I think, is going to be so much fun to watch through training camp and through the exhibition season and to get him ready. But he's going to play. I just don't think, Jordan, he's ready to step in and start right now. What that lineup is going to look like, I don't know. But I would think that it's going to be Trey, probably Bogey, maybe Daniels in preseason just because, they're preseasoning when they get him out there. Hunter, Jalen, and Capella, I think would probably be the way we'll start next week.
Well, Bob, with Zach, one thing I do like what you mentioned is the length part. And I'm looking at the fact that the Hawks were 26 in blocks last year, and going into the paint and maybe not giving up 53 points or more in the paint will be a big deal if you have Dyson and Zach in there a little bit with those guards trying to come in and getting layups on a periodic basis. I think that's going to dissipate a little bit with both of those guys on the court on a regular basis. I do have one question in regards to Okongwu. He has 36 starts in his career as a Hawk so far. And some of his starts, he's had 21 and 15, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 13 and 8, 3 blocks, 17 and 8, 5 blocks, 18 and 11, 5 blocks. Do you think this could be a season where there could be a transition flip to where Okongwu is going to maybe get starter minutes possibly, and Capella not, or at least some kind of a transition evening out, maybe the fourth quarter or something?
Yeah, Chris, I think perhaps in time. That's not going to happen right away because he's not 100% yet. I thought the most alarming announcement, if you will, was when they asked Okongwu at Media Day Monday, how's your toe? He had a procedure. He didn't play, since March, and he's still not cleared 100%. Well, come on, it's been 6 months and he's not ready. That's a little troubling. So, maybe pump the brakes a little bit on Okongwu until we can get him 100% physically. I don't think he's that far away. I don't want to mislead anybody, but he's not 100% is the bottom line. And how we nurse him through training camp to get him ready, I think is going to be a story to watch. But it really helps that we got Larry Nance Jr., a quality backup and a seasoned pro. He's played 10 years, who can step in there and fill some of that breach until O can come back. And we still have Clint, so we won't be hurting at the 5 position right away.
Jordan, you had a question?
Kind of along those same lines. One of the things I've noticed with Onyeka Okongwu is that he and Jalen Johnson seem to have a great chemistry together. They seem to work well together on the court with passes, big-to-big passing, as well as off the court. They seem to be great friends. So could you just speak to a little bit on the chemistry that you see between those two guys? And do you think them playing together more, even if Okongwu is not a starter, the Hawks could use their chemistry together to help, make our team better overall?
Yeah, I think one thing you'll see next week when the games begin is the camaraderie. We've got an infusion of younger guys, and that has lifted everyone's spirit. Everybody loves Ricochet. They like Dyson. They like all these new guys that are coming in. And guys like Jalen and Onyeka are feeling that vibe. And I think that chemistry that you point out, Jordan, is key because it's going to build organically with the new guys. There will be times, I'm sure, where they'll be playing more together than they did maybe last year. And there'll be other times that Okongwu is going to be matched with some of these younger guys, and we'll see, what that chemistry is like. But I don't think Quinn has any preconceived notions of who needs to play with who and how long and all of that. I think it's going to be the depth of this Hawks team is really going to be a big benefit as we go through the season. To get through 82 games, guys, and this, you've been watching pro basketball forever. To get through 82 games, you have to do it several different ways. You got to be able to win high-scoring games. You got to be able to win low-scoring games. You got to have enough depth to cover the injuries. But what you want is 10, 12 guys that are together as a team. And if I saw one thing yesterday in Athens, it was the spirit is really good. They like each other. They're excited to be together. They're going to play a style of ball that I think will remind a lot of Hawks fans of the 60-win team, where that ball is moving. There's a much more unselfishness with shooting and all of that. I think it's just going to be a fun thing to watch. Now, we have 3 weeks to deal with this before we start for real. But I think those are a couple of things to keep your eye on as we get set for the preseason next Tuesday.
Absolutely. I think the whole team was at the Kansas City Chiefs Falcons game, which was good to see. And also it's good to see Trey take Zachary Ricochet back to Oklahoma so he could see his first college football game as well. Yeah,
and those are things that seem like little fun outings, but they're so crucial to the building of team chemistry. And, I think you'll see more of that as the season goes on.
Yeah, camaraderie can never be underestimated. I mean, I always talk about when I play ball, it's a lot easier to try to win a game with someone you kind of like a little bit rather than somebody you can't stand. I'm not passing you the ball,
When I was doing, Chris, when I was doing baseball, when I was doing the Braves, my partner at the end had a great line. Jeff Torborg, the former manager, is my partner, and he had a great line. He said, chemistry is not important until you don't have it. And that is so true.
Absolutely.
So Trae Young is entering his 7th season in the NBA. He's getting old on us. with the beard and everything. He's the Hawks all-time leader in assists. He's third in double-doubles. Some people don't know that. First in threes. He's an active player leader in assists per game in history right now of the NBA at 9.5, fourth all-time. He could finish the season 85th in NBA history in a total assist, which is crazy. In the 6 seasons he's played, he's also 5th in 30 and 10 assist games. Harden, Braun, Westbrook, and Luka are the only other guys. And Luka is only 1 game ahead of him because he was out those 28 games that you mentioned earlier,
Right.
Bob.
Right.
Trae being out hurt the Hawks for sure, okay? When he's not on the floor, the Hawks don't win that often. History has shown that. What do you think Trae is going to be able to do this season? And do you think it'll be, plus with all the new players and the current players, enough to where we're not thinking play-in this year for the first time in a few years?
I think just be Trae. Guys, he's averaging last year 27 and 11. I mean, these kind of guys don't walk through the door every day. And we got one, So I think just be you. Do the things that you do. Set up your teammates. I think you'll see a faster tempo from Trae this year because he's going to have the ball in his hands all the time now. And I think the emphasis on the pass is sort of be right up Trae's alley to get everybody involved all the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Trae will do with this group. But I don't think he has to be, 30 and 15 for the Hawks to win. Not at all. I just think just do what you do and really don't worry about the stats. You're going to get your numbers. And just the main thing is to lead and to win.
And I think, and my biggest point to even asking that question is looking at some of the other franchises over the last 6 years, as opposed to the Hawks, where they're gathering players around their best, whoever that might be. And will the Hawks be able to do that for Trae? Because we saw 12 years of Dominique, we saw the 60-win team, and we looked at the years right after, whatever those elevated playoffs were. Did we say, okay, we need to now make sure that we can get to this next level, get over the hump, so to speak?
Right.
And I just feel over the last 6 years, we just really hadn't done that. We've kind of either been stagnant or even gone backwards to an extent. I'm just hoping that this will be the first little foray in regards to saying, we got one of the best players in the NBA on our team. Let's take advantage of it.
I think back to, we were talking about Dikembe earlier, I think back to the Sixers team with Iverson that went to the finals. Really, if you can, now it's a different game. Yeah. Larry Brown had a defensive unit. They surrounded Iverson with a bunch of selfless defensive first guys, Eric Snow and George Lynch and Mutombo and,
Yes.
people like that. You can't really do that today because of the proliferation of the three-point shot. You've got to be able to shoot the basketball. But I think if we can surround Trae with that length that we talked about and guys that can play good defense, Dice is going to be great. We know how good Capella is. Jalen Johnson can do a lot of great things defensively. Hunter's calling card coming into the league was defense. So I think there's a lot of areas where we can surround Trae with the help he needs to be greater than the sum of our parts.
Jordan, you have a point?
Absolutely. My question to you, Bob, in regards to Trae is, in your opinion, why is he such a polarizing player? Seems like I spend a lot of my time on Twitter, aka X, defending Trae Young, even sometimes amongst our own fan base. I mean, he's a great kid. He doesn't get in any trouble off the court. He may talk a little trash on the court, but I like that. That's fun. I love the competitiveness and the fire. So, why do you think sometimes he's polarizing even amongst our own fan base?
I think his reputation preceded him into the NBA, to be so ball dominant as an amateur player on the AAU circuit. The toothpaste his freshman year at Oklahoma kind of got out of the tube before Coach Kruger or anybody could put a cap on it. And, I thought what ESPN did to Trae was unfair to a player. When you put the score bug on the screen and you leave up there Trae Young, 21 points, 11 assists, and update it as the game goes on. They don't do that for LeBron. They didn't do that for Kobe or Michael. I mean, it's just, come on, what are we doing? So I thought that it really got out of hand early on. And I think a lot of the NBA guys, and obviously his future teammates here in Atlanta, sort of saw that and was like, well, what's this kid all about? What's going on here? And then I think the other thing too, Jordan, is his defensive liabilities have not helped. And I think Trae will be the first to admit that when he came in, he wasn't even thinking about defense. Not that he's going to ever be a defensive stopper. He's not. But do what you can. Don't die on screens. Don't leave your teammates hanging out to dry. And I thought last year, Quinn did a marvelous job. And, of course, Trae had to execute it on the court, so credit to Trae. But, he was third on our team in charges drawn. He was up there in steals. What else you want the kid to do? He's 6'0" playing in a land of giants. So I think it's starting to turn. Garrison Matthews came to us, and I said to him, so what was your impression of Trae as a visitor? He said, I really didn't much care for him. And I said, well, what do you think now after you play with him? He said, I love him. So that's the kind of perception shift that takes time, but I think it's turning more in Trae's favor.
The one thing, Bob, I will say to that is you have a lot of other great guards his size that also weren't known for defense, did not get the brunt of what Trae has ever gotten. And Trae is, again, one of the best guards players in the NBA over the last 6 years, bar none. And again, it's just a matter of it's just the twisting of the knife for me a little bit, Bob, in just regards to that. I just had to say that.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard for him to even get on an all defensive team. And I mean, sometimes, or not an all defense, an all NBA team, when he's puts up numbers that,
nobody else,
very few guys in history have done. And so it just kind of makes you wonder sometimes. But I will say, I would agree with you, Bob. He showed great improvement defensively, really over the last couple of years, but especially last year. Drew several clutch charges as well and had some clutch steals. Thus, the hashtag being born on X that I started, hashtag two-way Trae.
I apologize for the barking in the background.
Yeah, I heard.
Okay.
I'm trying to mute my mic here as I go because my wife, Mary Beth, runs a dog rescue. And we have some fosters with us right above me that are going to go to the spay and neuter clinic here shortly. So they're getting a little antsy. So I apologize.
No
That's
problem.
okay. That's good work, Bob. I love the furry friends. I'm a fan of the furry friends myself. So
good for you.
We won't be holding you too much longer. Got a couple more things, and then we're actually going to be done for the day.
No problem.
The playoffs. We haven't been in the playoffs for a while. Relatively in the NBA. The last time we were, and I'm gonna still keep saying this, we should have beat Boston straight up. Okay.
So no, I'm telling you, if we'd have played the first two games like we played the last two games of that series, we would have beaten them.
I think we would have beat them. Do you believe that the Hawks have opportunity? I just want to kind of close out with this. With everything being said and not knowing what people are going to do just yet, but do you think we have enough elements to be competitive in the Eastern Conference? And as players start kind of getting into their niches and things of that nature, do you think we have enough in the Eastern Conference to be competitive? To even if we have to be in the play-in, I'm just saying. But do you think we can get to the playoffs and have a chance to get out the first round?
Oh boy, I think if everything goes right, we can get out of the play-in. The East is tough, man. New York, Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Indiana, Orlando. I mean, it's tough. But I think if everything goes right, I could see us finishing 6th and somewhere between 6 and 10, realistically. But if it goes right, I don't see any reason why we can't make the playoffs. And if we're, even if we had to go through the play-in route and finish 7th or 8th, that's okay. whoever we get early is going to be tough. So if we're playing well, by the end of the season and we're in that, 45 win range, 45 to 50, if everything goes great and everybody stays healthy, we probably beat anybody. So it's a young team. I must remind everyone, these are young dudes. Trey's been around for a little bit. Hunter's been around a little bit. Obviously Clint, but the rest of them, even if they've been in the league a couple of years, they haven't played a whole lot. Jalen, first time he played was last year. So he's still, learning. Dyson Daniels and Ricochet and, keep your eye on David Roddy as a guy who will come off the bench and have a little muscle. But, they got to come together as a team, and then they got to play well together. So, but I'm optimistic, Chris. I think if this all comes together, I've seen it, you catch fire and keep everybody healthy, I think we could do some damage.
Well, the reason I asked that question specifically, and Jordan, I'll give you a second in a minute. Tone Gully from Twitter wants to bet me $300 that the Hawks won't make sixth place. And I'm like, well, why would I bet you for the Hawks to maybe lose games? I'm always the one who says anything can happen at the beginning of the season. It's 0-0, right? And I rather side on the side. I would rather side on the positive side of history rather than going backwards. So I just wanted to make sure that I got that out there for everybody. Jordan, go ahead.
We've got, if you look at our schedule, we got a couple of games that are very winnable in that first week. We got Brooklyn at home and we got Charlotte at home. Never a gimme in the NBA, particularly our history with Charlotte. We've struggled with them. But those two could get us going, because after that, guys, we've got 9 games in 14 days. And that's tough for anybody. That would be tough for the Celtics. So I think the sooner we can get this together, these 4 preseason games are key to establishing, some sort of rotation and who looks good with who and what we think we can do. We got to get out of the gate quickly. We got Brooklyn, Charlotte. We got 2 with Washington right away. Those are eminently winnable games. And if we can do that, I think that'll be the springboard to a good season.
Go ahead, Jordan.
Absolutely. Bob, my final question is about depth. And 2 positions in particular I have a little bit of a concern from a depth perspective are third point guard, basically, who runs the team, the second unit, if we have an injury to Trey or to Kobe Buffkin, particularly with Kobe having some injury issues himself last year, and also backup power forward. So what do you think the Hawks do at those spots in-house as far as depth goes? And is there a chance that there could be some kind of small move made to get reinforcements at those positions, and particularly third point guard?
Sure. Well, you remember we got Keaton Wallace on a 2-way as a point guard, and he played spectacular ball for College Park. I don't think a lot of fans maybe have seen him play much, but Wallace in an emergency can certainly come up. And you can always slide Daniels to the 1. Bogey can play the 1. You're going to have a primary ball handler. So
Veet Krejci a little bit too can play the 1.
Yeah, and Veet, we tried that at the end of last season. I think he can handle the ball. I think he's better for us on the wing than anywhere else. But at that 4 spot, keep an eye on a couple of guys. I mentioned Roddy, who will come in, I think, and he's only 6'4", but boy, he can.
Roddy the body.
Yeah, boy, he's got it. I told him Monday. I grabbed his arms and I said, we need these because we need him to knock some people around. And Dominic Barlow is a young guy who's got some seasoning at San Antonio the last couple of years, and he might be somebody that sort of flying under the radar right now that may find his way into the mix. That's why I think it's going to be so much fun to watch these 4 preseason games, to see how Quinn mixes and matches all the people, to see just what he's got and how it all kind of fits together. But I think depth, actually, Jordan, I'm excited. I think we're going to have better depth than we've had in a couple of years.
Nice. And one other name I would throw in there would be Mohamed Gay as well, as far as in that.
But he's more of a wing 4 than he is anybody that's going to get inside and muscle it up. He's tall, but his value is more 3-and-D, I think, right now.
Yes, sir.
I played the tape of Barlow and Roddy a few months ago, and that's when I started saying we're going to have a better season than what people think because of depth. And I also agree. I think we're better at depth than we've been in many years, really. Bob, to let you go, got two last things. Thoughts on the Braves and Falcons for 2024?
Well, sort of like the Hawks, the poor Braves. I mean, my hat's off to Snit and the guys, because you can't lose your best pitcher and your best player and survive. And they found a way to survive. Now, it was a tough break not having Sale yesterday.
Really
I mean, that was just, oh, man. And not that, anybody's fault, but I mean, these things happen. But I think with their pitching, if they can somehow win, obviously they got to win today, but Max going gives me great hope. And if they can get into this thing with the Dodgers and get Sale back with their starters, the three big guys, they can beat anybody. They can shut down LA for sure. But it's going to be tough. No team yet in this best of three wild card has ever lost the first game and won the series. So they're up against it. But, to do it without Ronald, to do it without Spencer, to get this far, really pretty amazing. Just shows you how deep they are. And for the Falcons, I'm excited. They could be 4-0 with any luck at all. Yeah, I am excited. I really think, we got to get a better pass rush, right? For sure. But overall, I mean, to win a game like they did Sunday without an offensive touchdown, I know one got called back because of penalty, but, they're doing fine. I mean, they could have beaten Kansas City, for goodness sakes. And
you're always in the game. You have a shot, right?
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think they're off to a good start. I really like our new coach, and I like our new quarterback. And I'm a Dirty Bird fan. So
there you go.
Hope they keep it rolling.
Yes,
Bob,
sir.
Bob, what does the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame mean to you?
Oh my goodness, I am overwhelmed.
Congratulations, Bob.
I mean, it's so crazy, guys, to be considered for nomination, much less to get in. Forget the athletes. I mean, just the broadcasters that have represented the state, the Larry Munsons and the Mike Glenn's and the, Ernie Sr. and Ernie Jr., Skip, Pete, all these guys, to be in their company is really pretty staggering to me. So it really is humbling, I got to tell you. And, when you look at the list, and I encourage all Georgia sports fans, just go on the website and look at the athletes and coaches that this state has produced. Oh my God.
Incredible.
It's really amazing.
It is. It's mind-boggling in all sports, not just football, basketball, baseball. It's unbelievable what we've done.
Yes, sir.
So to be a part of that is truly humbling, and I appreciate you mentioning that.
I wasn't going to let the show go without that, because again, you were one of the reasons I even started doing this, what I do. And so when I heard about it initially, I tweeted you about it, but I want to make sure that all the audiences knows how just a big deal it is. And again, all of the broadcasting that you've done, not just with the Hawks, with the Dream and college and everything like that, over a span of, I'm not going to make you old, but you've been around. So just again, applaud you for that accomplishment.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
It means so much.
Major,
I really appreciate it.
No
major congratulations to you, Bob. And just we certainly have appreciated all of the great calls over the years. We're looking forward to many, many more. Thank you so much for giving us being so gracious with your time and being so direct and informative with your answers. And please, speaking of talent coming out of Georgia, please give our regards to the great human highlight film, your partner, Mr. Dominique Wilkins, as well.
I will. I can't wait to see him. We're back out here next Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going. Hopefully, me and Jordan will be up there this year. I wasn't able to do much last year, but hopefully, you'll see me at some games this year.
I've got
come
a
on,
package.
you have a standing invitation.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I've got a little ticket package, Bob. So you'll definitely see me.
Outstanding. I love it.
All right, Bob, we'll let you go. Thanks for your time again, and good
Okay,
call
guys.
for this season, man. Good luck.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me on. It means the world to me. You guys are doing great. Yeah, right. You guys, I really appreciate what you do for the fans. This is not easy work. It takes a labor of love to crank it out like you guys do. So my hat's off to you both. And anytime you need anything, please holler.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay,
Thanks
guys.
so much, Bob.
Take care.
That was the great Bob Rathbun. You know what? I actually forgot that I have my let's see if this works. Let's see if it works. There it is. I forgot it was working today.
The great Bob Rathbun, ladies and gentlemen, the great Bob Rathbun.
So one thing I want to say, just to repeat, my man Damon Thomas on Twitter, Tone Gully, because I just have to break this down because the initial post was in regards to the Hawks are going to be like, between 8 and 10 and don't have no expectations. We just want to play hard. And I responded to that with saying the Hawks are going to be 6, no less than 6, book it. And then he said, well, bet 300 on it. And I'm like, well, no, I don't gamble, but I just rather be on the side of positive history. And then he responded right before we got on the show, well, you just don't believe. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I believe because I just made the statement. And I'm doing it on audio. I'm doing it in print. I'm doing it visually. But again, are you going to go to the games hoping that the Hawks are going to lose a game so to make sure they don't go from 8th to 7th? Like, that's wild to me. I'm just saying. So that's why I brought that up earlier in regards to what Bob thought the Hawks would do. And Bob Rathbun says Hawks have a shot to be 6 too. So I'm not as crazy as people make me out to be.
Yeah, well, you know me, Chris. I'm positive, but I'm more realistic in terms of, like, I'm gonna tell you what I feel, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. Everybody who follows me knows that. Now, first of all, Mr. Damon, he's not familiar with your game. If he thinks that it was any chance you're gonna bet, you don't gamble at all. Now, I almost never gamble, but I don't have quite the no gambling policy you have. But one thing about it, I hate to ever bet against my team because, like you say, who wants to sit here and watch a game hoping that your team loses for monetary purposes? No, that's just not something I'll do. But with that being said, I do think the Hawks have a chance to be 6. Now, as Bob said, health is going to be a big factor, and that has been an issue for us in recent years, in multiple seasons. But I really do think this year could be a situation of addition by subtraction. Now, I know they said that when we traded John Collins, and that was false. I was not in agreement with that. But in the case of DeJounte Murray, who is a good basketball player, I think the guys that we brought in may just be much better fits for what we have. And it was very interesting that Bob brought up that Philadelphia 76ers team, because that's the exact thing I had in my mind, to where you had a dynamic scorer like Trey surrounded by a bunch of defenders, with the difference being Trey is also a much better passer than AI ever was. And you do have more offense than that team had. As Bob said, that team was almost all defense. Shout out to the late great Dikembe Mutombo, who was Defensive Player of the Year that year. The Sixers went to the finals. So I do think that with health, there's a chance that we could see addition by subtraction, just by the simple fact that we will have more long athletic defenders, and guys will have more defined roles, and there not be an overlapping and a clashing in roles as there was sometimes with Trey and DeJounte.
Well, you got to want to play defense, and you got to be able to play defense, know where you're supposed to be, things of that nature, but also fighting through the screens, rotating to that open man, contesting the three-point shot. You know what I'm saying? Blocking out so that people don't get an offensive rebound and put it back up in the paint. So we're not giving up 53 points in the paint every game. Staying with your man in assignment so that way they're not breaking down to the other side of the court for a fast break, because the Hawks were also 28th in fast break points last year, giving up. That's bad. We gave up 14 threes a game last year. So when you're talking about that portion of who's here, who's not here, and what's going to happen with the lineup, that's why I'm looking at is, if it's utilized correctly, a lot of things will be mitigated that really killed the Hawks last year, injuries aside. You know what I'm saying? Because some of it's just the principle of this got to be where you need to be all the time, and we'd be better. So that's what I'm hoping for with this coming season is just that you'll have those players put in a position to succeed on a regular basis. Then the rest of it is execution, obviously. But I just think just because of the changes, I think we have a better shot than last year. And again, I'm excited about the season upcoming.
Absolutely. So as am I, looking forward to seeing his first preseason game and just kind of see what combinations does Coach Snyder try. Excited to get a chance to look at some of the younger guys, especially Zachary Ricochet. Want to see how Mo Gay has improved over the all season. Want to get a look at David Roddy. And so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. And you know, I'm thinking that we're going to have a great season. I'm thinking that Trey in particular is probably going to have one of the best seasons of his career, statistically, as he'll be able to just go out there and play free and do what he does, as Bob said.
Yeah. So as we get ready to close out, just a reminder for everybody, make sure you do follow on Facebook and Instagram there, IMTM Worldwide Radio. You see that at the bottom right there. Also on Twitter, myself, Intellect ATL, and Jordan23 ATL right there on the bottom there. Make sure you do that. As a reminder, shows brought to you by IMTMWorldwideImages.com and or on Instagram. If you need some photos, I'm about to actually like change clothes and walk out the door in a second for this corporate photo shoot. And also be reminded that the show is also brought to you by Southern Classic Transportation. Comfort and courtesy unrivaled. Dennis Brazil is your main point guy, 404-291-0150. Make sure you reach out. And again, if you need anything in the city of Atlanta, if it's airport related, you got a trip, you got a sub-city trip, you're trying to go from, I don't know, Atlanta to Nashville, just throwing it out there, you know, make sure you hit them up. They really will take care of you. They're professional. As you see, Mr. Jordan Jackson right there, he's a professional in the game. I like that tie, man, by the way.
Thank you very much, sir.
Make sure you hit them up. But more important, make sure you subscribe to IMTM Worldwide on YouTube, the YouTube channel, IMTM Worldwide Radio, because besides Mr. Bob Rathbun, we have had a lot of great interviews over the years. His counterpart on the radio station, Steve Holman, the voice of the Hawks. We've had Dominique Wilkins on the show. We've had others like Angel McCautry on the show, Jerome Durinovich, who led
John Collins.
John Collins has been on the show. Jerome Durinovich, who led Atlanta Hawks and Braves live for 15 straight years, has been on the show. Really great interview with him.
Marvin Freeman
from the Atlanta Braves has been on the show. So again, if you like the interview factor in regards to Atlanta sports, definitely tune in the past episodes. We have some new stuff coming. Well, of course, we talk all Atlanta and Georgia sports as well. So besides the Hawks, we talk Falcons, we talk Braves, we talk Atlanta United, we talk the new volleyball team, Atlanta Vibe. We talk
UGA.
College. Did I say the NBA? Oh, no, WNBA, the Atlanta Dream. Thank you. Right. We also do college. We do UGA, which didn't do too well the other day. Still upset about that. It was bad. We sometimes talk about Georgia Tech, but not often. Georgia State University, we'll talk about Albany State, Clark Atlanta, anything that's in the state of Georgia, including high school. If you're a high school alumni from somewhere, you might want to tune in because we'll start doing high school games again. But again, if you just like Atlanta sports, you like our format, definitely tune in on a regular basis. Share with others who enjoy Atlanta sports. We really would appreciate that. It's a big deal because, again, we haven't been on a lot, okay, over the last few months. We've done what we can. Is like Mr. Rathbun said, it's very difficult to put everything together sometimes on a regular basis, but we're coming back strong for this 2024 sports season. So, Jordan, any last words before we close out?
Just a few quick notes. As you mentioned, tough loss by the Bulldogs. Don't understand why we started like we did, but we finished strong. And unfortunately, we're just done in by a great player. That young kid, that 17-year-old receiver for Alabama, Williams, is a prodigy. Go Braves, expecting a big start out of Max Fried tonight, but we got to swing the bats and give him some support. Hopefully put something on the board early to support him. And also, go Falcons. Great win. Anytime you can beat the Aints at any point, it's a great thing. But we got to get a little bit better on third down in order to sustain these drives, and so we can put more points on the board. Hoping for a good performance in Tampa, against Tampa here in Atlanta on tomorrow night. That being said, I want to give one more shout out to my mom, Miss Diane. Love you, Mom. And last but not least, I just want to thank God for giving me this breath that I breathe to talk about these Atlanta and these Georgia sports that I love. Peace up. A-Town down.
Definitely excited for tomorrow. Hopefully the Falcons can win another division game. Again, we have 3 division games in a row, which is crazy at this point of the season. But if we end up winning them all of a sudden, more and more people have to start looking at the Falcons as a serious, threat in the, football conference on our side, the National Football Conference. So I'm excited about that. And again, I'm excited about the Hawks this season for sure. Bob being on the show just elevated the feelings of a new season coming on and all these new players. We actually had the #1 pick for the first time in 300 years, so again, just the excitement of just all of that. And I'm hoping all the Atlanta Hawks fans who do go to State Farm Arena this season will also feel that. And show out, really. We really need that this year more so than any other year, really. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, and again, of course, all thoughts and prayers to Jordan and his mom over the next few months, the rest of this year. I'm sure everything is going to, get better in time. That being said, we're going to go ahead and get off of here and be looking out for us next show. I almost said next week. Next show, which actually might be tomorrow. You never know. But again, this is Chris on IMTM Worldwide Radio, along with Jordan on Around the ATL. Going to talk to y'all another time. Peace.